Sound effects have been an important part of game design since the earliest blips of Pong. Hardware limitations kept sound effects primitive until fairly recently, but many of those early chiptuned sounds have risen above their purposes in their respective games and become part of popular culture. Each game of Pac-Man begins with a simple melody, now recognizable to almost everyone, followed by the waka waka of Pac-Man gobbling pellets as he navigates each board. The more recent Pac-Man Championship Edition DX took the sound cues of the original game and amplified them in scope and purpose. There are few sounds in gaming quite as satisfying as Pac-Man turning around to devour an entire train of ghost monsters, the tables now turned against them. As technology improved, so did the sound effects associated with games. Whereas once a simple bleep or bloop would suffice, bigger, cheaper memory meant voices, real, human voices, were becoming more and more commonplace. The low bitrate, garbled voices of games like NBA Jam were soon replaced with CD-quality voices like those in Metal Gear Solid. The combination of the sound of an unanswered codec, along with the frantic cries for our hero on the MGS Game Over screen, is certainly one of the examples of a voice and sound effect combination that stands out as truly memorable, even if it did mean you screwed up somewhere. Snake! CDs weren't the only media to have voices in games at the time. Pepe's advice to players to
do a barrel roll
become easily one of the most recognizable sound effects in gaming, spawning countless YouTube remixes and parodies. The first few notes of a game's music can also evoke certain feelings. The rooster's crow, followed by the first chirping notes of Hyrule Field's morning theme, is an audible marker that there is respite from the enemies of the night. Another evocative slice of game music is the Final Fantasy Victory Fanfare. It exists in one form or another in every Final Fantasy game, and marks your triumph over your foes with an enthusiastic trumpet blast. For particularly hard-fought battles, the music cues not only victory, but relief. Other sound effects stand out because of their unique purpose within a game's framework. Take, for example, the sound of a gun in Contra as it hits a metal foe. If I had to guess, I would say the sound is modeled after the real-world hum of a ricocheted bullet, but hearing it means not only are you hitting your target, but you're also damaging it. The level up sound in Castlevania Symphony of the Night is iconic partially because the game in which it features is one of gaming's finest, but also because of the uniqueness of the sound. The sense of accomplishment it evokes when heard makes it both iconic and welcome to the ear. It's not just the sounds in games that belong in the pantheon of iconic gaming sounds. Some of gaming's greatest sound effects came simply from powering on a console. The resonating bong of the PS1, playful meander of the GameCube, or the simple ping of a Game Boy. Hearing these startup sounds now usually activates the nostalgia portion of gamers who remember fondly their gaming exploits of the past. Some games are so important, so iconic, that highlighting one or two sound effects from them is nigh impossible. Super Mario Bros. For the NES contains arguably the most recognizable sounds in all of gaming. From the collection of coins, powering up, finding a one-up, to simply just jumping, every single sound effect in Super Mario Bros. Is practically perfect. While something like Cruisin' USA suffered greatly at the hands of time, both graphically and more unforgivably in its wretched sound design, Super Mario Bros. Still works perfectly as a game, and each sound effect embraced the limitations of the NES's relatively primitive hardware to great effect.